When we navigate in Maya, we're navigating in what's called a viewport, and that's this big window here. Now, viewports are really where most of the work happens in Maya. It's where we can see our 3D scene and manipulate it. Now, viewports can be changed to your liking. So, this viewport here has a menu as well as a number of iconic buttons along the top. Now, this happens for every single viewport. If I press this For View button here, you'll see that every single viewport has this menu. So I'm going to go ahead back into my main view here by just selecting this button. And let's take a look at what some of these menus and buttons do. Probably the most important one is the shading menu. And this allows us to choose between wireframe, smooth shaded, flat shaded, as well as turn on or off texturing. Now, the easier way to do this is to just use keyboard shortcuts. So the number 4 gives us wireframe, 5 gives us shaded, and 6 gives us shaded with textures. Now, we can also turn lighting on or off. I have this set to use default lighting, which is what we're seeing now. But if I want to, I could use all the lights in the scene. And that will give me this. Now, if I want, I can also turn shadows on or off. Now, the hotkey for use all lights is 7. So that goes in sequence with 4, 5, 6, and then 7 adds in lighting. Now, I do have some other options here, such as use selected lights. So if I were to navigate out just a little bit, you'll see that I have some lights here, and all I have to do is click on one of those to select it. So I'm left clicking on it. And then if I use selected lights, it will only show the effect of that light or this light. Or I can, again, use all lights. Now, in addition to this, we have a show menu, which allows us to turn objects on or off. In fact, I'm going to navigate in here, and let's go ahead and take a look at this living room wall here. And if I want to, I can turn objects on or off by type. So if I turn off NURB surfaces, watch what happens to this orange fireplace. It goes away. That's because that particular object is made out of NURBs. And if we want to, we can turn that back on. So we can actually isolate certain types of objects in the scene to make it easier to select. Now, in addition to this, we also have different types of renderers. Now, this may depend upon how you have Maya configured, and right now we have what's called the Viewport 2.0 renderer, and that's what's creating this image. If we click on this little box here, it brings up a menu that allows us to change the technical parameters of this and add in things such as motion blur. We can change the anti-aliasing. We can also add in things such as fog or use what's called ambient occlusion. Now, if I turn that on, you can see we get a little bit of extra shadow in there. Now, a lot of this is duplicated along these icons. So I've got a number of icons here. I'm going to go ahead and hit 6 and go back into just shaded mode without lighting. And if we want to, we can turn on or off the grid, and notice how that's under the table. We also have a number of gates. We have our film gate, we have our resolution gate, we also have a field guide, as well as action and title safe. Now over here to the right, we have some more buttons that are duplicated. So we have wireframe mode again. We can do smooth shade all. We can do wireframe on shaded, which can be very useful when you're modeling. So we can turn that on or off. We can also turn on or off textures here. And we can turn on or off lighting here as well. And then we have this one here, which is use default material. Now, in addition to this, we also have ambient occlusion, motion blur, as well as anti-aliasing. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways to configure a viewport in Maya. So go ahead and play with the settings and understand them so that way you can get the most out of your viewports.